The Biden proclamation on the Transgender Day of Visibility has caused quite a stir. President Biden loves to put limits on our constitutional rights, but he has no limits on expressing his hostility against Christian values. When it comes to public displays of degrading behavior, even in front of little children, there is only approval and promotion from his administration. In his proclamation we read, "My administration is working to stop the bullying and harassment of transgender children and their families," close quotes. His words would be credible if he were not behind the bullying and harassment of peaceful pro-lifers who are protesting the murder of the unborn, and parents at school board meetings who are being bullied by the federal government because they are protesting disgusting books and public school grooming of little children to accept sexual perversion as normal. The proclamation also speaks of equality and justice. But where is the equality and justice for female athletes who have to compete against transgender women who are not really women but feminized men? And where is the equality and justice in keeping the border open? Illegal immigrants are invading the country by the millions and bringing criminals into America to prey on Americans. The illegals get benefits, American citizens are ripped off. Where's the equality and justice in that? And what about the flood of illegals who bring sickness and disease into America? Is it justice that we get sick from diseases we once conquered, but now are returning because of the Biden administration's despicable irresponsibility concerning the border? Americans working in science and medicine have made great strides in keeping the population healthy. Biden's open border policy, however, has welcomed people into America who are going to make us unhealthy. Fox News reports, quote, "Tuberculosis breaks out at Chicago migrant shelters following measles cases," close quotes. Predictably, the Chicago Department of Public Health is trying to minimize the seriousness of this. Chicago needs to remember Mrs. O'Leary's cow and the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. While the story of Mrs. O'Leary's cow kicking over a lantern in the barn might be just folklore, the lesson is clear. Only a spark is needed for a destructive fire that destroys a city. We need to remember the exponential curve produced by doubling. 2 sick people can produce 4 sick people, who produce 8 sick people, who then produce 16, then 32, then 64, then 128 sick people, then 256 sick people. Could we have a tuberculosis epidemic? Could Ebola break out in your neighborhood, dear friend? From the very beginning of his presidency, it is obvious that Biden and his team have declared war on Christians who worship God instead of government. In defending Biden's Transgender Visibility Day, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre slammed the critics, calling them dishonest and hateful. She tried to make her point by saying that it just so happens that Easter falls on a different Sunday every year. And this year it happened to coincide with Transgender Visibility Day, she said, close quotes. That evasion does not impress thinking people. The White House has repeatedly endorsed and celebrated LGBTQ plus holidays, the National Coming Out Day in October, Lesbian Day of Visibility in April, International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia in May, Pride Month in June, Intersex Awareness Day in October, and Transgender Day of Remembrance in November. The White House has previously come under fire from critics during events heralding LGBTQ plus community. Some spoke out last year when a transgender model and activist took off her top at a pride event at the White House. She cupped her breast in photos. Others spoke out because the White House invited an anti-police non-binary drag queen to attend the Respect for Marriage Act signing. Is the White House changing its persona and now resembling Jeffrey Epstein's Little St. James Island? Sadly, President Biden is not the only Democrat in leadership who is pushing transgenderism on America in a most offensive manner. Democrat Governor of New York State Kathy Hochul has ordered New York State landmarks to be lit up in transgender colors on Easter Sunday. Landmarks that were colored with pride colors were the One World Trade Center, the Empire State Plaza, Niagara Falls, Albany International Airport Gateway, Lake Placid Olympic Center, and several others. Donald Trump's opponents claim that a vote for Donald Trump is a vote against democracy. The truth is, Democrat leadership at the national, state, and every other level is working hard to destroy democracy. They are working hard at being offensive and seeking to use the force of law to prohibit any and every objection to the heavy-handed practice. Proverbs 29:2 tells us, "When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn."